Hi guys, welcome to Poseidon Sport Fishing Tackles and Charter. In this session today we're going to teach you how to make carp rig by yourself. Making a carp rig is quite simple. It just takes a little bit of practice. So we thought we'll teach you how to do this. We had already done this video in Tamil and a lot of people had actually messaged asking if we can actually make it in English because some people couldn't follow how it's being done. So we'll cover this in English today. And also carp fishing has been really productive in South India in the recent times. The reason being a lot of people have started using this hair rig or pop-up rig, and also people have started realizing that you don't have to be next to a coastal belt to be able to fish. A lot of rivers, lakes, ponds around your area which are all stocked up with rohu, katla and mirgal. So you've got a very good chance fishing these areas. Even if you're living close to a coastal belt, on a windy day you can still go to the fresh water and you can still have a nice time just sitting and fishing for some carp. So let's get into the session on how to make these rigs. Hi guys, welcome to Poseidon Sport Fishing Tackles and Charter. Carp fishing is getting quite popular all around India, and we would like to show you how to make the carp fishing rig in this session. And we'll go through what are the basic things that's actually needed for making this rig. So you'll need a rigging tool, you'll need a stopper, and this is a different kind of stopper, so you can just use any one of this. Then you will need the pop-up balls. You get pop-up balls in different sizes, so choose the size that you would want. They come like 10 mm, 12 mm and 14 mm. Normally I prefer using the 10 mm because it's more standard and it's easy and for it to get into both katla, rohu and all fishes mouth, because rohu normally have got a smaller mouth. And then you have different types of hooks. Try and use a curved shank hook, which is good for the pop-up rigs. Do not use a normal hooks. So you get Mustard brand CXV hooks in different sizes. You get them in 6, 8, which are the common sizes, and some people when they're gonna be using it for rohu and katla prefer using smaller, or some people for katla they prefer using a little bigger. So you can even go for number 4 size or even little bigger. So just choose a hook that would suit your needs. And also you get hooks which has already got the D ring and the actual ring in it welded as part of the thing as well, and you get the plain hooks wherein you can put them and tie the ring separately onto the hook. So you get a lot of Agwater products. So we have all these products in our store, so you can drop in and get the products that you actually need. So for the rig in itself, so we'll need the pop-up ball, you'll need the stopper. You can use the clear or the colored one as you prefer. Then you need this drilling tool bit to drill hole into the actual pop-up, or if you don't have this, you can also use a needle and make the hole and pull the braid through this eye of the needle. Then you'll need this rigging tool. You'll need a pin. Then you'll need the ring. You'll need some lead. You'll get this in most of the electric shops. They use this for soldering. So you'll need this to zero balance your rig. I'll explain what zero balancing is. And then you'll need a swivel, and then you'll need the braid. Try and use dark color braids, and you'll need a scissor. Now take up the pop-up ball, and you'll see that one side is flat, so that's the side you will actually need to put the stopper. So now we'll take the drilling tool and drill the pop-up ball. So we made a hole. So like I said, the flat surface is where the stopper will come. So now take enough braid. Even if it's a little bit longer, that's fine. The reason being,
you can tie it easily. If you take a very short piece, it makes it really hard putting the knots and everything. Once you've made the rig in zero balanced, then you can trim it up if required before putting the swivel. So now make a small loop on one side of the braid, and the loop needs to be really small. That way that loop actually fits within the pop-up ball's length. And now trim the tag end. And open up the loop in the end. Now take up this rigging tool. So this rigging tool opens up like this. So first open it and then push it through the hole. So you'll be pushing it through the flat surface to the other end. And now grab this loop using the bend on the tool and close the end, and then pull it through slowly through the pop-up ball. And pull it slightly back so the knot actually goes back into the pop-up ball. And open up the loop. And take the stopper. You can also do this using a sewing needle. If you don't have the rigging tool, just make the hole and put the sewing needle in and pull the braid using the eye of the sewing needle. Now cut the stopper, take 2 nodules and you will insert it into the loop that you made on the top of the pop-up on the flat side. So now insert it carefully into the loop and make sure that the loop is actually sitting in between the 2 nodes of the stopper, and pull it really tight. So this way the stopper doesn't fall off. Now you can put the rigging tool away. Now take a pop-up hook ring and insert it into the braided line. And push it as close to the pop-up ball as possible and make a knot so that the ring is fixed and it's not moving. So you've tightened it. Now take the hook that you would like to use. Like I said, use curved shank hook, and common size that we normally use are size 6, 8 and 4. Depending on the size of carp that you get in the area, you can either go for bigger hooks or smaller hooks. Now insert the hook into the ring that you've just tied to the braid. and keep the pop-up ball as close to the top bend of the hook, and then we're going to do a knotless knot. So insert the braid through the back of the eye and pull it to the front. Now hold the pop-up ball and the ring together using your finger, and you're going to be going around the shank of the hook, making a knotless knot. So just go through the shank. Now again go from the back of the eye to the front and pull it out. Now you've tied the pop-up ball to the hook. So next stage is putting the leads to zero balance it. So now take this soldering lead. You get this lead in most of the electrical shops, and you'll need a pin to roll this lead to fit on the braided line. And you get lead in different thickness. So based on the thickness, you might have to go multiple rolls, or you might have to go little shorter. You will get it over time. And what you can do is, the best way is, after zero balancing it, put it in a bucket of water or a mug to see if it's actually zero balanced. I'll explain what zero balancing is in end of this video. So just go through the pin nice and tight, and make sure the ends are nicely snugged in. So push the ends in nice and neat. Since I've used this lead a few times before to zero balance, I know how many times I have to go. Now cut the end and roll the edges. And now you can slide the lead that you've made like spring. Now insert this into the braided line. And move it close to the pop-up ball. You need to have it probably about 1 inch from the pop-up ball, and press the edges of the lead wire first using your fingers so it doesn't move. And then use a plier or a scissor, something that has some serrated ends, and just press on the edges of the lead alone. So the lead is not moving around the braid. Now we've tied the first lead, so you'll have to put a second lead there to zero balance it. So we'll do the same procedure again. So we'll roll the lead around the safety pin nice and tight. If you don't have a pin, you can even use a thin sewing needle. Just that the metal that you're using to roll the lead has to be the same thickness approximately as the braided line, or it will be too loose to fit on the braid. Now we've got the second piece of coiled lead. So smoothen the edges, press it nice and tight. Put it through the braid. And keep it about a centimeter, or max about an inch from each other of the leads that you rolled. And press the ends a little bit. So push the ends in, because when you're actually pressing, sometimes the lead actually comes towards the outside. So try and push them all in and keep them all nicely and tightly snugged in. Now we see that there are two lead coils. So some people use nail polish and paint it either black or green, or you can even paint it using some oil paint mixed with Fevicol, so it doesn't come out that easily. That's to make sure that the carps are not spooked and the color blends in with the natural environment. Now you will take a swivel, make a loop on one end of the rig that you've just made, and go through the eye of the swivel and bring it the other way around. Some people prefer putting string tubes on top of the knots to make it look more presentable. After you've inserted the swivel, trim off the tag end. Now your rig is ready. So we'll have to test it in water to see the balancing. I've got another rig which I've already done and put in water to show you. You can see how it's beautifully sitting off the water. So with the zero balancing, what it does is it actually sits on the floor, just a few inches sits on top of the water. So when the carp is actually feeding in the area, if you don't have a zero balancing, the full rig is going to sit on top of the water like that, and all the feed is going to be on the floor. So the carp is going to happily eat the food away and not get hooked. So when you actually zero balance it, the actual rig is going to sit close to the bottom, and when the carp is feeding, and they suck and spit, suck and spit. That's how the carps eat. And when they are feeding, there's more chance of this hook actually getting stuck in the carp's mouth. And some people might ask this question, why should I zero balance it? Why can't I make the rig itself really small? So what happens in that case is the radius of the hook. You can see when the carp is coming and feeding around, if you have a real short rig, which is probably only about 2 inches in total without zero balancing, the radius is reduced. So only when the carp comes and feeds really close to the rig, it will get hooked. But when you zero balance it, and use a rig, look at the amount of radius this rig covers. So when the carp actually come and sucks, the pop-up ball is buoyant, so it actually goes into the carp's mouth. So with a shorter rig, you won't have that. That's the reason why we actually have to zero balance the rig. So you can have a look at how it's looking underwater. So after you make each and every rig, make sure that you put in the water and check that it's properly balanced. So the line has to sit in the bottom and it has to raise up like a cobra.